Mythology, our favourite way to descend into the shared fears and superstitions of ancient cultures and civilizations, and metaphysically portray them as an all-powerful cosmic deity that often got their kicks in meddling with the affairs of us mere mortals down in the playful plane of Earth. Well, if you've already seen the first part of this video, you'll know that for the most part mythology has given us some of the most badass female warrior deities / incredibly powerful spell-slinging witches, and also Zeus was hella messed up. But thankfully for us, in the dusty tomes of time-old ritualistic practices, there are many more mythological gods where that came from. So let's take a look. Hello horror fans, what's going on, and once again welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest mythological gods in history, part 2. Cheers Robert the Dude, roll the clip. For the curious amongst you, that clip was of course from the awesome History Channel TV series Vikings, depicting the unstoppable Lagertha in a ritualistic blood sacrifice to the Aesir Frey. And she looks rather happy in doing so, doesn't she? The thing is though, it leads us to mention an important point, because ancient history has long since demonized the practices of countless cultures, and it is in fact one of the main reasons why many of the gods on this list are deemed scary, because, well, it's all a matter of perspective, really. Well, except for the ones that slit your belly open and stuff it with straw and pebbles. There's no coming back from that kind of reputation. Kicking off at number 5, Sekhmet. And this is the first time that we're heading down into the underbelly of ancient Egyptian mythology, with one of its lesser known deities, but also perhaps its most violently ferocious. Now, it's no kept secret that the ancient Egyptians had a bit of a thing for death and disembowelment, but that particular torturous method of pain is best reserved for the legendary deity Sekhmet, the fiercest huntress amongst all of the Egyptian divinities. Sekhmet was often depicted as a lioness, and she was bestowed upon the titles the one before whom evil trembles, mistress of the dead, lady of slaughter, and she who mauls. That's a pretty hefty resume, right? But nevertheless, she's a badass. Sekhmet was a solar deity and thus fell under the order of Ra, king of all the Egyptian gods. As the legend goes, Sekhmet was sent by Ra to kill a cabal of demons that were still lurking within the kingdom of Egypt, as well as their numerous mortal cults and secret orders who had instigated countless wars and other forms of discord upon mankind. Well, it turned out that Sekhmet had a thing for spilling blood, and with the first sign of battle, she fell into an animalistic frenzy, causing so much death, destruction, and bloodshed that the Nile itself overflowed in a crimson red. And because of her blood-based environmental disaster, Ra forced her to clean it up and swallow all of the blood in the Nile, subsequently kicking off a 1,000-year tradition of warriors getting punch drunk on red wine after every great battle. What a legacy. Swinging in at number 4, Baron Sammedi. And we're swinging over to the mythology of the lower of Haitian voodoo for this one, with perhaps their most infamous orchestrator of the dead, Baron Sammedi. Now, although there are copious lower deities, the principal chief of the dead is this guy, who holds a certain chaotic reverence over the comings and goings of the living and the dead. Also known throughout his numerous incarnations as Baron Cimetière, Baron Lacroix, and Baron Criminel, Sammedi is often depicted dressed in a top hat with a black tailcoat, dark or lensless glasses, and cotton plugs in his nostrils, as if to resemble a corpse dressed and prepared for burial in the traditional Haitian style. He is brash, rude, fond of rum and tobacco, but also has a roguelike charm to him and an incredibly wild sense of humor. It is often said that the Baron Sammedi spends most of his time in the invisible realm of voodoo, found at the mystical crossroads between the worlds of the living and the dead. For any soul that passes freely from this world, Baron Sammedi has a freshly dug grave ready and waiting for them, and it's his business in ensuring that all corpses rot in the ground to stop any soul from being brought back as a brainless, flesh-hungry zombie. After all, it's an important job, and someone's got to do it. Cheers, Baron Sammedi. Next up at number 3, Rangda. How could we make this list without referencing perhaps the most evil force in the whole of the South Pacific, Rangda, the demon queen of the Layaks. Now, in Balinese mythology, the Layaks are a horrifying race of humanoid monstrosities that take the form of a grotesque flying head seeping with human entrails, the heart, the lungs, and the liver. In mythology, they were thought to be humans who had practiced black magic and cannibalism in the name of their queen, the widow witch Rangda. She often takes the form of a wretched, mostly nude old woman with a long tangle of hair, claws, fangs, and bulging red eyes. Rangda serves in direct opposition to the king of the spirits and leader of all the goodness in the world, Barong, and she eternally pits herself against him, orchestrating her army of evil witches and layaks to spread corruption, death, and destruction across the mythologies of Balinese folklore. However, it is often thought that Rangda may also be closely associated with the Hindu goddess Durga, the fierce, often violent warrior mother that descends upon those that have wronged her with chaos and destruction. And because of that, Rangda is sometimes worshipped as a protectorate force in certain parts of Bali. Nevertheless though, she is pretty damn terrifying. Coming in at number 2, Nick Nevin. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty biased on this one, but much like the Morrigan from our previous part 1, and despite her horrifying depiction, Nick Nevin is pretty damn awesome, if not the very meaning of a nightmare to those that have wronged her and her many enemies throughout mythology. Derived from the Gaelic surname Nick Navan, meaning daughter of the little saint, Nick Nevin is a bloodthirsty queen of the fairies in Scottish folklore. She is principally related to the Irish and Scottish Fele Nemab, the festival of the dead, which is otherwise tied to Samhain, the Celtic New Year, and the darker half of the solstice. The fact of the matter is, Nick Nevin is a name often tied up to depict the seminal mother witch, and in Samhain her name was given amongst other powerful female deities, Satya, Bensosia, Zobania, Abundia, and Herodiana, and is thus tied in with the various practitioners of necromancy and sorcery in Celtic mythology. As the renowned poet and author Sir Walter Scott described, Nick Nevin rode on the storm and marshalled a rambling host of wanderers beneath her grim banner. She was a hag that rode at the head of witches, sorceresses, and elves indifferently, always emerging upon the ghostly eve of All Hallows Mass. Now, as I said at the opening of this video, modern religion gave the old ways an incredibly bad image, and because of that, Nick Nevin was said to be ferociously angered by her newfound enemies. But as the legendary Scottish folklorist Alexander Montgomery said, the elder Nick Nevin regularly feasted upon the flesh of holy men. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, Perched, which is a figure that potentially ties neatly into our previous entry Nick Nevin, and perhaps could even be tied into the same deity that was secretly worshipped across ancient Europe, a mysterious horned god often related to the goddess Diana, the natural deity of the moon, the hunt, and the wild. If you've never heard of the witch cult hypothesis, I definitely recommend reading up on it because it's incredibly interesting. But that's by the by, because what we're concerned with is one of its most terrifying depictions, Perched, the arbiter of cultural taboos in Alpine paganism. In many instances, Perched was given 2 forms, that of a beautiful young woman, white as snow, or as an elderly, haggard old crone who tempted children with bright red, poisonous apples. Sound familiar? Perched would roam the countryside and slip into homes during the dead of night, where she would find out if children and young servants of the household had been working hard all year, and if they had, they'd find a small silver coin by their bedside or in their shoe the next day. If they hadn't though, she would slit open their bellies, remove their stomachs and guts, and stuff the hole with straw and pebbles. Yeah. It is often thought though that Perched permeated her way across the traditions of Old High German, taking many various forms and appearances. She was also thought to be the female mantle of Berchtold, a figure that was often tied to the mythical Wild Hunt, a band of mysterious demonic riders that have plagued the folklore of Europe and the British Isles for thousands of years, roaming the wild places of the world, doomed for eternity to hunt supernatural beasts and the dead. Come on guys, isn't mythology just great? Well, there we have it, horror fans, our part 2 list for the top 5 scariest mythological gods in history. What do you guys think? I know the first part was incredibly well received, so I'm predicting some pretty in-depth analysis, and of course, if you have any comments on today's video, please speak your mind freely down below. Before we depart from today's video though, let's take a quick look at some of your more resounding remarks from over the past few days. Peace Turtle Infinity says, haha, I was listening when I heard Jack say my username and was freaked out for a second. Thanks. Ha. Well, how freaked out are you gonna be for a second time? Because it's happening again, Peace Turtle Infinity. It's happening again. Just a curveball. Gotta keep you all on your toes, right? Well, on that note, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Cheers for sticking around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos, and until next time, you